Fire Force is one of the wackiest anime and manga in terms of scaling, and it seems like almost everyone has a different opinion on where the verse scales. So, while I'm sitting here waiting for the third season, I might as well go over the scaling for the series. And I'll divide this video into two sections. My personal take on the pre-Banshoman scaling, and then the stuff that everyone actually cares about, how strong Shinra Banshoman is. Fire Force scaling might seem weird, as the verse kind of just has a power spike halfway through the manga, but the reason behind this is actually pretty simple. Adola is a world of human ideas, and as Adola begins merging with the real world, imagination and the ways humans perceive reality through forms of fiction start becoming real, and as such, when Adola gets closer, humanity, or more specifically humanity's ignition powers, also grow stronger. This means that earlier feats won't really have an effect on the scaling for most of the verse, as by default, any relevant character would just be much stronger than before. And because I know all anyone cares about is the power of the stronger characters like Arthur, Shinra, and Benimaru, I'll just be going over their scaling. The AP scaling for Fire Force seems to be pretty unanimous, as we have three separate feats or statements that all point in the same direction. First one is of course Arthur slicing through the earth, splitting it into two pieces. This actually isn't a planetary feat, as he didn't overcome the Earth's gravitational binding energy, but when you actually calculate it, it would still require small planetary levels of power to do. The other and more concrete planetary scaling comes from Benimaru's doppelganger, who says himself that he would be able to blow up the planet. It doesn't really get more straightforward than that, but in case anyone is doubting the validity of this statement, let me just make it very clear why it is objectively true. Just like how Adola is a world formed from human imagination, a doppelganger is a being formed from the combined ideas and thoughts that other people have about you. The stronger people think you are, the stronger your doppelganger will be. In real life, if people truly believed you were stronger than Prime Mike Tyson, then your doppelganger would be stronger than Mike Tyson. And the people of Asakusa held Benimaru to such a high regard that they either consciously or unconsciously believed that he could actually blow up a planet. Because doppelgangers are governed by belief and not by facts, if Benimaru's doppelganger says that he can blow up a planet, then that's what people think, and as such it is true. But even the physical idea of the strongest person on the planet was still too weak, as Benimaru was able to one-shot his own doppelganger with just 2 fingers. So Benimaru undeniably scales at least 7 times above baseline Planetary, as that is the minimum requirement to kill someone with one attack. Note that this 7 times multiplier only applies to punches, kicks, or something along those lines. One-shotting someone with a sword does not count as a 7 times multiplier. Finally, the most impressive feat out of the 3, Shinra stopping the moon with a kick. There are different results you can get for this, depending on how long you think it took the moon to reach the Earth, and depending on the mass of the moon. You might think the moon should just have the mass of the moon, but that isn't actually entirely true. Within Fire Force, it's made clear that if 2 objects have the same mass, like a human and the Earth, the human will just float in the air. This is of course not true for the real world, but since that is how it works in Fire Force, then we just have to go by that logic. Since the moon was standing completely still after Shinra kicked it, then the moon's mass must have been increased to the mass of the Earth, being that Shinra didn't just kick the moon, he basically kicked a planet. The kinetic energy of the falling moon would be equal to around 1.8 times 10 to the power of 40 joules, or dwarf star level, and for Shinra to stop the moon, he would have needed to kick it with the same amount of force. AP is pretty simple, and I think most people will agree with me here, but the speed is where this gets controversial, because I don't believe Shinra can fight at FTL speeds. Can he achieve FTL speeds? Yes, of course, it's literally stated, but he can't fight at those speeds. Whenever Shinra accelerates past the speed of light, he breaks down into particles, and those particles then go back in time. The problem here is that Shinra never goes beyond the speed of light when performing an attack. The maximum speed he ever reaches is light speed, as he specifically has an attack that is a light speed kick. When Shinra is normally fighting, he doesn't break down into particles. It's only when he specifically moves at or beyond the speed of light that this happens. This means that while Shinra can attack at the speed of light, he can only move that fast using specific techniques. Saying that he can move faster than light or that he has immeasurable speed when he objectively isn't even moving at the speed of light does not make any sense. And as such, Shinra would at most reach the relativistic levels of speed with Rapid and Superfire, as you can get him to around 17% the speed of light in base. So, Shinra before he fuses with his mom and Sho should be around Dwarf Star level with relativistic speeds. The same should go for Arthur as they are pretty much relative, while Benimaru should honestly be in the small star ranges since his doppelganger should be stronger than both Shinra and Arthur based on the fact that the people of Asakusa believed Benimaru was stronger than those two, and as such his doppelganger would have been stronger than them. Now for the thing everyone is here for. Shinra Banshoman. I've already given the basics on what Adola is, but to explain Shinra's scaling I'll have to go a bit more in depth. Adola isn't just a world formed from imagination, but it's also a world where all concepts reside. As shown when Burns and Joker experience an Adola link, the very ideas of mathematics and higher dimensions are one with this world. Seeing as the concepts of dimensions would be above dimensionality as a whole, it means that the Evangelist, being one with Adola itself, would scale to low outer reversal as she would be above dimensionality. Shinra scales above the Despair Saint, and as such he would also scale to low outer reversal. Speed-wise, we know that Shinra can freely move through time without the same restrictions he had before, and as such he should qualify for immeasurable speed. Now, if you don't agree with Adola literally being a world of concepts like I described it, then at bare minimum, Shinra would scale to 5D through the higher dimension statement. Anyway, Shinra Banshoman would be around low outer reversal with immeasurable speed, or at the bare minimum, low complex multiversal with immeasurable speed.